Excellent. Yeah, the inception idea kind of, I always say, come from two basic ingredients. The one being finding a little bit of an emotional, personal story. So I looked at my youth and growing up in Italy, in Genoa, and growing up with my dad and my grandfather that lived with us. The two of them never quite got along, and I always felt a little bit in the middle of these two kind of strong personalities. So that feeling of being a little bit, the boy that's feeling the pressure was something that I thought was worth kind of trying to explore, and that I was, something that was inside me in my past. So I put that together though with something that was a little more about things I love in movies and things I love in literature. So which is really more the fantastic. Some of the inspiration I mentioned is Saint-Exupéry and The Little Prince. So I thought of just putting these these three characters that are representing the three generations, in this very fantastic setting, and I always loved the moon, and I thought it would be really great to kind of invent my own myth about what the moon is and why is it bright, why does it change shape, those are the things that kind of came together at the at the inception of the idea. The way we then at Pixar, when you start thinking about pitching some shorts, you start talking to development, which is of course headed by Kevin, and we have we call them development ladies. It's three ladies, Mary, Karen, and Keel at Pixar. They're the greatest kind of at just listening and just giving you some good feedback, and so you start pitching ideas to them and start developing ideas with them, and so you hear what's working, what's not, and so you slowly build three ideas for an eventual pitch. So after talking to them and working and doing a lot of drawings, given that I'm a story artist, I wanted the pitch to be very visual. So I made bead boards, fully kind of kids book like small illustrations of the moments of the short. And so we kind of pretty much got ready for a pitch to JL with these three ideas, and that kind of from there, John really reacted to this specific one, which I was quite happy with. It was certainly my favorite, and yeah, and then from there it was just really about figuring out a little bit the production, when could it happen, finding the right dip into productions from other movies at Pixar, and slowly get ready to produce it.
Well, we have a group of people. There's at least 5 or 6 people who all want to pitch ideas to John for a short film, and one tends to rise to the top. And it was La Luna was definitely one that was it changed almost literally nothing from the beginning that when Enrico pitched it to what actually came out. So a couple small tweaks here and there, but it was one short film that didn't have a lot of changes, but. We presented to John. John said, "Make it. Go make it. You have the three ideas. I like this one the best, and yes, go make it." And so then we get a budget together, and this film was sort of the gauntlet had been thrown down by finance to say, this is a simple, elegant little short film. Let's try to do it for a reasonable amount of money, and so we did. It was much less because there were only 2 sets and 3 characters. That it was very confined. It wasn't like Day and Night, which we had to find 2D animators and clean up people and all that kind of stuff, and it wasn't like Partly Cloudy, which I produced, which had roiling clouds and talking clouds and lots of little characters and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, at first, the first feeling is like that, you're just really elated, and then pretty much I just started storyboarding the whole thing. I think John chose this idea on top of the other three because it had the most potential. It had a world. It wasn't the idea that I had 100% figured out in my mind. The second idea, for example, was just slightly simpler. I had the storyboard in my head for it, and I knew exactly what to do with it. This one was, and I think that's to John's credit, had more to it. So there was a little bit of figuring out, okay, how do you do this? How do you cheat that? One of the first challenges we found was a little bit about trying to figure out this language, this made-up language, the gibberish that these character I really wanted them to have. We at first, did, as we always do, the scratch voices, these temp. voices, and it was me and the editor playing the two characters, trying to make this blah 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 voicing, and that was, not necessarily selling it right away. The people were like, well, maybe we should do it with music or something. It's like, well, I really grew up with a lot of great cartoons that had gibberish, and there's something very that I thought really could have a great flavor, and it would go very well with that Italian, very specific way of gesticulating. That I thought that the gibberish would mix very well with that, and could give it that extra flavor. So we did a bit of searching. We tried a few different people. We talked to a clown from Cirque du Soleil that has always had these great characters. His name is John Gilkey, and he's done great gibberish on the stage for Cirque du Soleil. So we talked to him. So we really did a little bit of research. Things were still not quite fully working out. We tried him, but he wasn't feeling like the characters. What finally did it for us and made it work is that we looked for characters that really embodied these guys. So we found Tony Fucile is the voice for our Papa, and he's a big Papa, and he's it really feels like the guy, and he's also gifted, kind of improviser of gibberish. We found, an actor. And then for Grandpa, we had to kind of look around and did a few tests, and we found a wonderful 75-year-old that really, again, it really felt like the real person. I always tell this anecdote. The first time he came in, he proceeded to take his teeth out and said, "You want it without teeth or with teeth?" And we were like, "Oh my God, it's a little scary, but let's try without teeth." And everything you hear is without his teeth. So again, there's something very real about getting the real people that feel like could be the characters, and that made the gibberish finally work. So that was a great challenge that at first we were, wasn't maybe clear that it was going to work. But some of the others were minimal, I must say. It was a pretty smooth sailing.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is probably that was an interesting one, is that usually we try and do shorts that are in a certain length. This short, through the production, got longer and longer and longer. And I was very thankful to Kevin to stand behind me on that, because I was kept on, kind of getting a little more time. We started with story reels, which were 4 minutes 40, and we have a 6:51 short. But I kind of really felt adamant about the fact that it needed time to breathe. And luckily we were able to still do it, still within the same price. So we were actually even proud of that.
The longer shots are easier to.
Yeah, the pacing was so that actually it wasn't the amount of shots was actually relatively short. I think we have 71 shots in the short. There's shorter shorts that have less, specific shots. So we were able to do that, and I think it is the longest original short that Pixar has done. So we'll take that.